What if I told you that the most forbidden question in human history is also the one that holds the key to spiritual freedom? Not, who am I? Not, why am I here? But the question we are quietly trained never to ask. Who created God? The mind recoils from it. Religions warn against it. Society treats it as dangerous, even disrespectful. Yet, Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, did not avoid this mystery. In his readings, this question was never condemned. It was simply misunderstood. Cayce did not describe God as a being that came into existence at some distant point in time. He described God as the source of existence itself. In Cayce's view, God is not a powerful figure inside the universe, watching from afar. God is the intelligence from which the universe arises. To ask who created God, Cayce explained, is like asking what created awareness or what created being. God is not bound by time. Time unfolds within God. According to Cayce, creation did not begin with matter. It began with awareness. Before stars, before planets, before light and form, there was consciousness knowing itself. Cayce referred to this as infinite spirit, the first cause, or universal mind. God did not suddenly appear. God eternally is. Everything that exists is an expression of that eternal source moving into form, shape, and experience. The human mind struggles with this truth because it is trained to think in sequences, beginnings and endings, cause and effect, birth and death. We instinctively search for origins because we live inside time. But Cayce taught that God exists beyond all cycles. God is the source of cycles, eternal, self-existent, without origin and without conclusion. When people pressed Cayce for an explanation of God's beginning, the readings always returned to the same truth. God has no beginning because God is being itself. This understanding radically transforms how we see ourselves. Cayce taught that souls were not created after the universe was formed. Souls existed with God in the beginning. In many readings, Cayce describes souls as companions with the Creator, existing in unity before entering material experience. Consciousness itself was never manufactured. It was expressed. Individuality emerged from unity, not separation from it. This reframes the entire question. Instead of asking who created God, we begin to ask how creation expresses itself through us. Cayce emphasized that God is not separate from humanity. God is within, through, and around all things. The divine is not confined to a distant heaven or hidden realm. It is present in every atom, every breath, every thought, and every moment of awareness. Cayce taught that the soul entered physical existence through choice, not punishment. Souls desired experience. They sought to know themselves as individuals rather than as pure unity. This choice did not sever them from God, but it did create the illusion of separation. Earth life, according to Cayce, exists so that this illusion can be recognized, understood, and eventually dissolved through awareness, compassion, and love. Cayce often reminded that humanity's discomfort with this idea comes from identifying too strongly with the physical world. When we believe reality begins and ends with matter, the idea of an eternal source feels abstract or impossible. But when consciousness is recognized as fundamental, the existence of God no longer requires explanation. It becomes self-evident. Awareness does not need a creator in the same way light does not need permission to shine. In this understanding, God is not something to be proven, defended, or argued about. God is something to be experienced. Cayce taught that stillness, reflection, and sincere seeking naturally draw awareness back toward its source. As the soul quiets the noise of fear, comparison, and identity, a deeper knowing begins to surface. A knowing that has always been there. A knowing that has always guided the soul, even before it entered the physical world. And when that knowing awakens, the question of who created God fades into the background. Not because it was wrong to ask, but because the answer is no longer intellectual. It is experiential. God is not discovered through belief alone, but through remembrance. A remembrance that what you are seeking has never been separate from what you are. In fact, what you are seeking has always been within, patiently waiting for your awareness to recognize it. The journey toward understanding God, then, is a journey inward, a journey of self-recognition and awakening to the eternal presence that animates all existence. Edgar Cayce taught that one of humanity's greatest misunderstandings is imagining God as external, distant, or separate. Many assume God is a ruler in a faraway heaven, watching and judging each action. Cayce insisted that this is a limited view, bound by human concepts of authority and time. God is not outside of creation, observing it as an outsider. God is the life force animating all existence. God is within every particle, every thought, every heartbeat. The divine is not removed from the world, it is woven into the very fabric of reality. In Cayce's readings, God is the intelligence that naturally gives rise to all laws of existence. Gravity, motion, time, and even consciousness itself are expressions of divine order. These laws do not exist independently of God. They are God in action. God does not enforce them like rules imposed from outside. They flow naturally from the nature of creation. To obey God is not to submit. It is to align with the intelligence that makes life coherent, consistent, and purposeful. The universe, Cayce explained, is not an accident. Every particle, every planet, every pattern is an expression of divine consciousness. Matter itself is slowed, condensed energy shaped by thought. In this sense, the mind of the human being is not separate from creation. It participates in the ongoing expression of God. Every thought, every intention, every moment of awareness contributes to the unfolding of reality. The soul is a co-creator, not a passive observer. This is why Cayce placed such emphasis on thought, meditation, and intention. To think is to act in the universe. To know God is to know the creative power within oneself. One of Cayce's most profound teachings is that the soul is eternal, just like God. The soul does not begin at birth and does not end at death. Physical life is a temporary, purposeful experience within a much larger spiritual journey. Reincarnation, according to Cayce, is not punishment, but opportunity. Each lifetime exists to provide the soul with lessons, experiences, and the chance to awaken to its origin. Every challenge, every encounter, every moment of suffering or joy is part of the curriculum of awareness, guiding the soul toward remembrance of its true self. Separation from God, Cayce said, is an illusion. It is a product of identification with the material world and with fear-based thinking. We feel apart from God because we mistake temporary identity and ego for ultimate reality. Love is the mechanism through which this illusion dissolves. Not emotion alone, but the unifying, harmonizing force that reconnects consciousness with its source. To love selflessly, to serve others, to act with compassion, is to align with God's intelligence. Every act of true love and service strengthens awareness of the eternal connection that binds all things. Cayce often spoke of Christ consciousness as the highest state of awareness, not restricted to one individual, but accessible to all. It is the realization of unity with God while fully participating in the physical world. Christ consciousness embodies awareness of the eternal within the temporal, the infinite within the finite. It represents the awakening of the soul to its inherent divinity, the recognition that what flows through the universe also flows through us. When humans ask who created God, Cayce would remind them that the question arises from a limited perspective. From the vantage of time, sequence, and separation, such questions seem necessary. But at the level of awareness, Where God is experienced, the question becomes irrelevant. God is not created. God is expression itself. And because the soul emerges from the same source, the soul carries the potential to express, create, and participate in God's unfolding reality. Life is not a test of obedience. It is a journey of remembering, a journey of discovering that all of creation, including ourselves, arises from the same eternal source, inseparable and alive in every moment. In this remembrance, fear fades, confusion dissolves, and the soul awakens to the truth that it has never been apart from the infinite intelligence that is God. Edgar Cayce taught that the true purpose of human life is not survival, achievement, or status, but awakening. Awakening to the truth of who we are, where we come from, and why we exist. In his readings, Cayce emphasized that the soul enters physical existence not to escape God, but to know God more fully through experience. Earth is not a punishment or a test designed for failure. It is a classroom designed for consciousness to mature through choice. Cayce explained that free will is central to this process. God does not control the soul's decisions or dictate outcomes. Instead, God experiences creation through those choices. Every decision, every intention, every response to challenge shapes the soul's awareness. This is why life feels meaningful rather than mechanical. Nothing is random. Even difficulty serves a purpose when viewed from the soul's perspective. Struggle refines awareness. Challenge reveals truth that comfort cannot. According to Cayce, the soul forgets its divine origin upon entering physical form. This forgetting is not a flaw. It is necessary. Without it, growth would be impossible. The illusion of separation allows the soul to rediscover unity consciously rather than unconsciously. Life, then, is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering what has always been true. A gradual return to awareness of the divine source that has never truly been lost. Cayce often spoke about the role of karma, not as punishment, but as balance. Every action, thought, and intention sets energy into motion. These energies return not to judge the soul, but to teach it. Karma is simply the law of cause and effect operating at the level of consciousness. Through repeated experience, the soul learns discernment, responsibility, compassion, and wisdom. Nothing is wasted. Every experience contributes to growth. One of Cayce's most important teachings was that the soul evolves through service. Growth does not occur through isolation, superiority, or withdrawal from the world. It occurs through relationship. How we treat others reflects how deeply we understand our connection to God. To serve another is to serve the divine presence within them. To harm another is to reinforce the illusion of separation. Love, in this sense, is not moral instruction. It is spiritual alignment. Cayce emphasized meditation and prayer as tools for remembrance. Not prayer as pleading for favors, but as alignment with divine will. Not meditation as escape from life, but as stillness within it. In stillness, the noise of ego softens. Fear loosens its grip, and the deeper current of divine awareness becomes accessible. Cayce taught that when the mind grows quiet, the soul naturally recognizes its source. He also warned that intellectual knowledge alone is insufficient. God cannot be fully understood through concepts, doctrines, or arguments. God must be experienced. This is why debates about belief often lead nowhere. Belief without experience remains fragile. Experience transforms belief into knowing. Knowing does not require defense. From this perspective, the question "Who created God?" becomes a signpost rather than a destination. It points the seeker inward. It challenges the limits of logic and invites awareness beyond form. Cayce taught that as consciousness expands, the need for external answers diminishes. Truth becomes intuitive rather than theoretical. The soul does not awaken all at once. Awakening unfolds gradually, through kindness chosen over fear, through awareness chosen over reaction, through love chosen over judgment. Each choice aligns the soul more closely with its divine origin. And as that alignment deepens, the presence of God is no longer something to search for. It becomes something lived. In this state of awareness, God is not distant, abstract, or unreachable. God is the intelligence moving through every moment. The breath, the thought, the act of compassion, the quiet insight that arises in stillness. To live consciously is to participate knowingly in the divine. And this, Cayce taught, is the true purpose of the soul's journey through time and experience. Edgar Cayce taught that humanity's future depends not on technology, power, or control, but on consciousness. As awareness expands, the soul naturally moves away from fear and toward understanding. Cayce believed that humanity is in the midst of a gradual awakening, one in which old ideas about God as distant, punitive, or external begin to dissolve. In their place emerges a deeper realization. God is not something humanity must reach. God is something humanity must remember. Cayce explained that fear is the greatest barrier to spiritual awareness. Fear contracts the mind, limits perception, and reinforces the illusion of separation. When God is imagined as distant or judgmental, fear thrives. But when God is understood as the source of life itself, fear begins to lose its grip. Love expands awareness. Understanding dissolves fear, and consciousness naturally rises toward its source. In many readings, Cayce emphasized that the soul carries within it the memory of divine unity. This memory is subtle, often buried beneath layers of identity, conditioning, and experience. Yet it remains active, gently guiding the soul toward growth. Intuition, empathy, compassion, and the longing for meaning are all expressions of this inner remembrance. They are signals from the soul, calling awareness inward. Cayce taught that spiritual growth does not require withdrawal from the world. It requires conscious participation in it. Daily life becomes the arena of awakening. Every interaction offers an opportunity to choose love over fear, patience over reaction, understanding over judgment. These choices gradually realign consciousness with divine order. Awakening is not dramatic. It is consistent. One of Cayce's most reassuring teachings is that no soul is ever lost. Growth may be slow, lessons may repeat, but the soul is always guided. Even apparent failure serves understanding. God does not abandon creation. Creation unfolds within God. Every soul moves at its own pace, guided by divine law rather than condemnation. Cayce also emphasized that the answers humanity seeks cannot be fully captured in words. Language can point toward truth, but it cannot contain it. This is why the deepest realizations often arise in silence. In stillness, the soul recognizes what the mind struggles to explain. God is not encountered as an object of belief, but as presence. When the question, "Who created God?" arises, it serves its purpose by stretching awareness beyond limits. It challenges assumptions. It opens inquiry. But ultimately, Cayce taught, the question resolves itself through experience. God is not created. God is creation expressing itself. And the soul, arising from that same source, carries the capacity to know this truth directly. As awareness deepens, the search for God transforms into communion with God. The seeker becomes the witness. The witness becomes the participant. And the participant awakens to the realization that separation was never real. God was never distant. God was never absent. In this realization, life takes on new meaning. Every moment becomes sacred. Every breath becomes a reminder. The divine is no longer something to fear or define. It is something to live. And in living with awareness, compassion, and love, the soul fulfills its purpose. Not by answering every question, but by embodying the truth that the question was pointing toward all along.